Hello everybody. What we're going to be taking a quick look at in today's video is word classes. So we're going to have a look at what they are, give you a few examples of them, and let you know how they relate to your Level 1 and Level 2 Functional Skills English exams. So, word classes, what do I mean? So word classes are essentially categories that all of the words in the English language fall into. So what you're asked to do in your exams is to be able to identify what kind of words have been used and their effect on the reader. So the most common types of word classes that we use are verbs, nouns, adjectives, and adverbs. There are far more than that out there. However, for Level 1 and Level 2 functional skills, this is the very most that you'll need to know. So I mentioned that it relates to your exams. Towards the very end of both the Level 1 and the Level 2 reading papers, you are asked to identify the writer's thoughts, opinions and perspectives and identify how they've expressed it using language. Now, ordinarily, I would recommend that you can do this by stating the overall thoughts, opinions and perspectives of the writer and then choosing a language feature and doing a quick explanation and writing it down as an example. However, if you particularly struggle with language features, you can instead use word classes to identify what words have been used, what word classes they belong to, and explain it that way instead. So, the first word class that we are going to have a look at today are verbs. Verbs are action words, doing words, things that we do. So if, as you're watching this video, think about what are you doing? For example, I am sitting, breathing, thinking, talking. All of these things are, and notice they all end in ing, I-N-G at the end. So if you're talking about all of these actions in the same tense, a good thing to look out for is that ing on the end. Now, it wouldn't be the English language if it didn't have some odd ones that don't fit into the rules. So don't worry, you may come across some words where they do not follow those rules. However, they are irregular. The vast majority should still conjugate correctly with ing on the end. The next one that we're going to look at is nouns. I always remember nouns are names, and they can be the names of people, places, and objects. Now, they actually fall into two further categories. We have common nouns and we have proper nouns. I would say, again, at Level 1 and Level 2, you're only expected to be able to identify what is a noun. So anything that falls under that umbrella. There's actually something like 10 different further subcategories of noun, but I'm just going to show you these two. So the most common form of nouns are, understandably, the common noun. And the examples that we've got on here are things that are everyday objects around you. So physical, tangible things that you can touch. Table, bottle, shirt, things like that. So a noun is a name of an item. If we're going to talk about proper nouns are names of people and specific places and things like company names. So all proper nouns start with a capital letter. So think about your own name. I'm going to say Alex always begins with a capital letter A. And it is the name I call myself and the name everybody else calls me. Therefore, it is how I am addressed. It is my noun. It is my name. Starts with a capital letter. Same as, if we look at these examples, place names should always begin with a capital letter and are proper nouns. And then the last example, so we've got places and we've got people, things like companies. If you think of Superdrug has a capital S, Apple, Amazon, eBay, everything like that, all companies should, when you're writing about them, start with a capital letter because it is the name of a specific company, a specific person, a specific place. So that's it. Nouns are names of things. Either common nouns, names of objects, or proper nouns, names of people, places, and companies. Then we're going to move on to adjectives. So if we have an object, if we have a glass and we wish to describe it, we're going to be using an adjective in order to describe that object. So the most common ones are colours, shapes and sizes. So the examples we have here: her shirt was red. Red is the adjective. Their brother was tall. Tall is the adjective. The city was beautiful. Beautiful is the adjective. So whenever we are describing an item, we're going to be using an adjective. Now, what about if we're describing an action? That's when we use an adverb. So a verb is a doing word. An adverb describes how we're doing something. So, for example, you could say he ran. Great, but we don't know anything about any further detail. He ran. It is telling us what occurred. If we said he ran quickly, it adds further detail to it. You can see these other examples. She read slowly. He stared at the food longingly. He really wants it. And again, note that these examples all end in ly, li sound. So beautifully, carefully, all of these ly. And it doesn't mean that all words that end in ly are adverbs, but a lot of adverbs end in ly. So that's it. That's just a very quick run through of nouns, verbs, adjectives, and adverbs. If you require more information on these, have a look through the reading questions on word classes on the Atom portal. And if you require further support, my personal recommendation is always the BBC SkillsWise website, as you can find lots of impartial and really good quality information, advice and guidance on there. Everything from videos, worksheets and fact sheets on each subject. Of course, if you want to have a go at any of these and send the results on to me, you know how to get hold of me by email and or the company WhatsApp, so please feel free to. Other than that, I hope you've enjoyed this short one on word classes, and I'll see you all soon.